Oldman did an interview with Playboy, and one of the topics that he discussed was his disdain for political correctness. He feels that it has run amok and it destroyed the careers of people like Alec Baldwin and Mel Gibson. Now, I want to give you a few examples of what he said. He starts off by saying, "I just think political correctness is crap. That's what I think about it. I think it's like, take a fucking joke, get over it," right? So he basically kind of sums it all up by saying people like Alec Baldwin and Mel Gibson were just joking around and we're being too hard on them, right? So he continues on. He says, "Well, if I called Nancy Pelosi a cunt, and I'll go one better, a fucking useless cunt, I can't really say that, but Bill Maher and Jon Stewart can, and nobody's gonna stop them from working because of it. Bill Maher could call someone a fag and get away with it."
So, look, the first part about taking a joke, I'm totally with him. The part about calling Nancy Pelosi whatever you want, have at it, Hoss, right? I might agree, not agree. I think that that's probably an ugly word, but who cares? You know, just if you, that's your business, not my business. But context does matter. So if Bill Maher has and I got no particular love for Bill Maher, but if he has a history of supporting, you know, civil rights, gay rights, etc., and then he makes a joke about it, it's like a joke you make within the family. Whereas if you have a record of being against gay rights and you're going around calling people the F word, well, then I got to question where you're coming from. Yeah. That's why Alec Baldwin was a particularly tough case, and I actually think that Alec Baldwin didn't do the right thing in that case, but was robbed overall. I don't think he should have canceled his MSNBC show. I don't think his career is ruined. I think that's an interesting case that if he had just stuck to that, he might have had a good point, a point that a lot of people would agree with. But when you go to Mel Gibson,
yes.
I mean, people might say sugar tits, although I haven't heard that in a long time, but it's not a slip of the tongue to say the Jews started all the wars.
That wasn't a joke. That wasn't, I mean, if you're trying to make a case that someone like Mel Gibson was making a joke and he doesn't get a pass, but someone like Bill Maher is making a joke and he gets a pass, you're absolutely wrong. Mel Gibson went crazy on multiple occasions and offended almost every community possible. In fact, we have that audio recording that his ex-girlfriend did when he would call her and say crazy ass things. So let's give you a little piece of that.
But don't hire, come there, okay? You get that message?
Well, I'll pay her myself. I found her. She's my dentist's ex-babysitter.
I've been paying her. That's my money that she gets paid with. I'm her employer, not you. You found her. I'm her employer.
You control me like marionette. I don't belong to myself, only to you. I can't do anything and I walk on the eggshells always with you.
That's because you're a fucking using whore. Now, I warn you, do not use your house. I have warned you, she will be fired if she goes to your house. You find that cunt, and you find some other money that's not mine. If she is at your house, I will make it known and fire her.
Fine.
I'll report her to the fucking people that take fucking money from the wetbacks, okay?
Okay. That didn't appear to be a joke. Now, look, there's different ways of defending Mel Gibson. I know one of his best friends who is Jewish, and he will say he's not anti-Semitic, and he's obviously got issues with alcohol, etc. But to say that he was joking like Bill Maher is joking is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's like a false equivalent. And so if you're trying to make a point about political correctness, I agree. There are issues with political correctness. Sometimes you do have to walk on eggshells because every community gets irritated by any little thing. So I get it, but you're using the worst examples to make your case. Now, he also talks about religion a little bit and how one student who's not Christian got offended by something and he thinks it's ridiculous. He said, "I heard about a science teacher who is teaching that God made the earth and God made everything, and that if you believe in anything else, you're stupid. A Buddhist kid in the class got very upset about this, so the parents went in and are suing the school. The school is changing its curriculum." And he was like outraged by that. But
okay, you know the funny thing is when he was rallying about political correctness, I totally disagreed with him.
Yeah.
But I didn't lose respect for him yet. And it's a weird line, right? With that quote, I lose respect for him. Apparently he's an idiot, right? Like, oh, now they got to change the curriculum, so we got to worry about the frickin' Buddhist. Well, we should be
public school, by the way.
In a public school where in fact we should be shoving God down every kid's throat. Constitution. Like, look, Gary, I don't know if you're from this country, so we got a constitution here that says you cannot established religion, which means you cannot teach it in public schools. So a sad day for you. By the way, Gary Oldman's a great actor.
Yeah.
So it's really disappointing to see what a douchebag he is.
Yeah, well, it gets worse.
Okay.
So let me read you my particular favorite. He says, I don't know about Mel. He got drunk and said a few things, but we've all said those things. We're all fucking hypocrites. That's what I think about. The policeman who arrested him has never used the word nigger or that fucking Jew. I'm being brutally honest here. It's the hypocrisy of it that drives me crazy. Or maybe I should strike that and say the N word and the F word, though there are 2 F words now. So he's basically saying, like, yeah, in private, I say those words all the time. Doesn't everyone? Don't.
No, we don't, Gary. See, that's the thing. They always assume that everybody's like them, but just trying to walk on eggshells. No, privately, we don't use the N-word at all. Who goes around being like, well, that fucking Jew, right? Gary, you got issues, dude. And the amazing thing is how much you don't realize you got issues.
One more. I have to read one more. He says Mel Gibson is in a town that's run by Jews. And he said the wrong thing because he's actually bitten the hand that I guess has fed him and doesn't need to feed him anymore because he's got enough dough. He's like an outcast, a leper, you know?
Just when you thought it couldn't get worse. Oh boy, that's pretty bad, Gary.
Yeah. But some Jewish guy in his office somewhere hasn't turned and said that fucking kraut or fuck those Germans, whatever it is. We all hide and try to be so politically correct.
Look, again, if you stuck to that kind of point where you say, hey, look, man, in our ugliest moments, sometimes the stereotypes come out and we're all trying to pretty it up in public, etc. That's a discussion definitely worth having. If you say, hey, you know what, some people say Eskimo, the others say Inuit, and people get upset one way or another and it's tough to keep up, that's a conversation worth having. But saying like, what, you don't say fucking Jews and niggers in your private life? No, we don't. And you're apparently a dick.
In terms of political correctness, again, you might have a really great point, but you're using the worst possible examples to make that point.